I'm Sam and I do design. Welcome back to Design in Process, the series where I am designing a light for Gantri Designs from start to finish and taking you guys along for the journey as well. In the last video, I presented some ideas that I'd come up with for potential concepts, and I asked you in the comments to talk about if you like the concepts, what you think worked, what you think didn't. And what I found was people were really interested in taking the idea of my current light with Gantri, weight, and sort of building a theme around the idea of weight and mass as well. So I thought I would do this video, which is going to include some original concepts that I submitted to Gantri before weight and before it became weight, and some other concepts that I had floating around before the time of Gantri as well. It's really important to go and check over old things and old designs to make sure you're not missing anything. So between this video and the last video, I think we're going to have some ideas that we can move forward to take into a more refined stage as well. So the first concept that I'm going to show you guys is the task light here. And this light was actually designed before I even knew about Gantri to begin with. And it was on Instagram that I posted it, and someone actually commented in the comment section on Instagram saying, hey, this looks like a Gantri light. You should go and check out those if you haven't already. And I didn't know who they were, so I went to go and check out their page. And actually they were looking for designers to collaborate with at the time as well. So I just managed to catch them at the right time to apply to be a collaborative designer. And that is the story of how weight became. This idea I actually submitted to Gantri before I submitted weight, and the idea was that we shouldn't take it forward because a Gantri light needs to be narrower and it needs to be taller for their 3D printers to print it. So this light relies heavily on the fact that the cone of light is very wide and it's not possible to print on their printers. So I submitted it. I also submitted it along with weight as well, and they decided to go with weight as an option because that was easy to print on their printers. I also did a version that would have been easier to print on their printers as well. It's a thinner cone of light. The light is looking a lot further down instead of looking out onto the desk. So that is actually the design that I submitted to Gantri. And I don't want to rule it out just yet because I do actually quite like this idea. I think it's playful and I think it's minimal. But whether or not this is the strongest idea in the bunch, that remains to be seen. You guys need to let me know down in the comments below. Actually, what would be really useful is if you listed them from your favorite to your least favorite. That's bearing in mind the last video concepts as well, and this video including all of these concepts. So between all of those, list what your favorites are, list what you like about them, what you don't like about them, think about what has potential, because these aren't the final designs, these are just the concepts that will then be refined and taken further to become nice design. These are just the ideas behind them. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. The next idea that I had, even before Gantri as well, was the bulb light. And again, it was just something that I was playing with materials at the time. I was thinking, it'd be really fun to have this translucent, semi-opaque bulb on a base. It's really simple. And again, before I knew about Gantri, so I modeled this up and I was playing with materials and stuff. And again, this is something that I might submit to Gantri, but I haven't yet, but it's been rattling around in my head for a while. The only thing is, I'm wondering if it's too simple. Like it's not got a factor of, oh, I didn't realize that, or it's hard to explain. I think this is a little bit too on the nose, but again, it's playful. I like it. Like I said last time in the last video, I want to make something that's minimal but with character. I don't know if this has enough character or if it's just too simple. You guys let me know. So that was the bulb light. This light was an option that I submitted along with the weight that you know and you can buy today. This was a second option that I was looking at as well. Again, to combat the idea that a Gantri light needs to be taller than it is wide. Weight is a very short light for Gantri. It's in the small category, it's in the $98 category, but they get taller and they get more expensive as well. I like the fact that my light is cheaper, so more people can get it. But this one was looking at different shapes and how they would interact if there's a soft material and a heavy material as well. So this is more like a cube of sponge or a cube of something really soft, and a cylinder of light has been placed on it, and it turns out that the light is heavy. So this is a different style. It was later pointed out to me by my friend Eric. If you're watching, hello Eric. He's not watching. We used to work at a company called Paul Coxedge Studio together, and I think subliminally the concepts that were going around at the time rubbed off on me for this concept in particular. I'm going to put on a concept from Paul Coxedge Studio that happened at the time that I was working there, and you can see the similarities. I think it's this design here. And does that mean that I can't ever use a cube in my design again? No. But is it ripping off that idea too much? I don't know. Again, you guys let me know down in the comments below. So this is what it would look like if it is turned off. And what I actually like is every single surface on this cube is not straight. None of it has a straight edge on it, but I think it still reads as a cube that has been deformed because you can imagine where it was before it had been squashed. So even this surface here, you can see the shadow of the cylinder on it. It curves underneath because it's been squashed like that. So yeah, that was just another design that I had fun with. But the feedback from Gantri was actually, it's quite an awkward transition between the cube and the cylinder, especially in this area. It's quite sharp. But that is actually what happens when you squash foam with a cylinder like that. It comes down and stops quite abruptly. So I don't know, I actually really kind of like this idea, and maybe this is a concept to take forward to build a theme around weight and mass and have that be my style on Gantri. So you can see them here along some very early ideas for weight. And the idea was to make weight look actually like weight, but it was way too much at the time to have all those fat rolls in them like that. I'm really glad that I changed it later for the actual design, but this was really early on in the process. And you can see it in some in situ renders that I had. I was practicing some renders at the time. Yeah. So the next idea is, that's fine. The next idea comes part and parcel with the idea in the last video where I spoke about the light being in different places of the light being in different places of the lamp. And this one is actually having the light upside down, almost like a flower pot, and just literally turning a lamp on its head because it's not a traditional lamp. And the white bit would become the light, and the dark bit here would be the stand and the plastic material. So I actually kind of like this idea. It would have a nice uplighting effect. I think it would look really nice in an interior. Is it obvious enough that I intended it to be a light that had flipped upside down? I don't know. Do I always need to be there to have an explanation about, oh, this is actually a light, but it's been flipped? I don't know. That would need more refining and some testing maybe to make sure people understand that it is a light that has been flipped upside down. That moved on to this idea, which was kind of in the middle of what can we do to change the order of the light, and what can we do to play with weight and mass. And it was this idea that cloth could be seen as really light material, really flowing and really organic, but actually when you put it and 3D print it into a light, can you make it solid but look soft? So I was still playing with that type of idea. This was actually a more updated version with a more, I think the difference between the two is the quality of the model of the cloth. So again, the white bit would be the opaque material for the light to come through, and the black would be the stand as well. And then that moves on to this idea as well, which I actually kind of like this idea. So it's still the idea of cloth, and it's still the idea of making it look flowing and making it look soft, but actually it's a rigid 3D printed material. But I like this because it's more subtle, and it might not give off as much light as the other lights because it's really low down to the ground, and it's just going to make a nice pattern along the desk or wherever it is. But I really like the details of this light. So I like the pattern that the cloth simulates. It makes this nice light pattern on the floor. And if I can engineer it properly at the back, you can see light shining through for where the cord goes in. And I really like the fact that it's highlighting the fact that it's got a cord and it's not trying to hide it. I think one issue that I have with weight is, one issue that I have with the current light that I have weight on Gantri is it doesn't look great with a cable, and it only looks great, I think, from certain angles. When you see it straight from the front and it just looks like a circle and a cube and you don't see that it's sunken in as much, I don't like that as much. So I think trying to make a light that looks good photographed from all the way around, that's what I'm trying to do here as well. So this has just been a really fast video to take you through some concepts of the things that I was thinking about before weight, during the process, and now recently with this cloth idea as well. Let me know down in the comments if you think any of these have any potential for future concepts. Let me know what you think of the other concepts from the last video as well. Rank them if you can in order of your preference, what you like about them, what you don't like about them. And as always, guys, if you learned anything in this video, don't forget to let me know down in the comments below too. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell button and everything else that YouTube asks you to do. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.